Okay, this morning I want to talk about creating your own electrical Revit family, and today we're going to keep it real simple and not actually do a family but do a model in place. Model in place is not a best practice and you should not do it. However, the reason why I'm doing a model in place is I really just want to talk about the connectors when you're making said panel and then setting it up correctly such that you can get it to connect to a distribution system. And what I mean by that is when you click on a panel, you should have a distribution drop down right here. And this has been configured incorrectly, and that's why you can't select this. Now, this one here, we drop that down, and it's 480. And depending on the type of panel, it could be 208, 120. But today I just want to talk about that, clear that up, because it's got some nuances associated with it that are not easy to pick up on. And I finally figured it out, and I just wanted to share. The best source for information on this is going to be this lady's videos are pretty good. The one specifically you want is part 6. She talks about actually creating this connector, and it's probably around halfway minute mark here. Yeah, so around the 7-minute mark, where she actually lays out rather quickly some of the parameters that you need to correctly set up. So her whole series here is really good if you need to make your own electrical equipment to the same quality that Schneider Electric makes theirs to, with the clearances and everything like that. So she runs through all that, how to nest, how to make a family and nest different families into it. It is pretty in depth. But for this morning, we'll come over here to the architectural tab or structural tab, doesn't matter. We'll go to component and then model in place. This is going to be an electrical panel, so we'll do electrical equipment. We'll hit OK on that. I'm going to call it test panel for the time being. So we need to give ourselves panel body, so we'll hit extrusion. It's going to open up the modify tab here. We will draw a rectangle. That works. It's going to extrude it up 2 feet 6, so that works for me since this is just a test. We'll hit OK, and that will finish the extrusion. So now it is an extruded object. We are still in the model in place editor, as you can see right here. So if we come back to create, on the right hand side here, I'm going to have connectors. I'm going to go here to electrical connector. So the two that you're always going to use is going to be electrical connector and conduit connector. From my understanding, you always need this one, and then this one references that one. I could be incorrect on that, but I'm pretty sure this is the one that actually gives you electrical type properties for you to connect things to. Without this inserted on there, you will not be able to connect your electrical equipment to a distribution system. So you'll never be able to schedule things up, things like that. So we will move forward and insert that. So we are inserting a, what do they call it, an electrical connector right now. Top left hand here, you want to change this before you place it. I think I'm going to go with power unbalanced. In her video, she said that power balance is what you need, but I'm pretty sure I want power unbalanced. That way you can set each individual phase if need be. So let's just say that this wasn't a panel and that this was an electrical load. Ideally, electrical load would be balanced, but for whatever reason, I think power unbalanced is going to give us the most flexibility. So I'll click that. Then you can see that our placement is going to be on a face, which is what we want. We want to place it on top of our panel. So we highlight the edge of the panel. It's letting you know that it's going to put it on the top there. Notice how you have crosshairs right there. That indicates that this is the primary connector. If you look this up in Revit documentation, they indicate that a crosshair will tell you that it's the primary connector. So if you have several connectors, the one that has a crosshair on it is the primary. Next, we're going to insert a conduit connector. We have the choice of an individual connector or service connector. I like to do service connector because it's a really catch-all be-all. So again, we'll do the same thing there, and that inserts it just as a square. And I'm feeling pretty good about everything we have so far, so I'm going to hit escape to get out of the conduit connector log since we already put that in. And now comes the part where you need to pay attention. So we have this whole thing is a family type, and right here we can edit the family types of this object, this family that we are creating. Again, this is a model in place, and then we're not using the actual family editor. like you typically would, but for all intents and purposes, this will be similar. Now notice when I click on this, these are the default things that come in with an electrical equipment type. Earlier you saw that we selected this as electrical equipment. Yeah, we selected a family category, electrical equipment. And right now I have it set up as part type as panel board. That's going to work for us. You can do other panel if you'd like. So if this is a controls panel, so you will just for the sake of it, we'll do that. So I'll say there's another panel, maybe it's a controls panel, who knows. And so these right here, voltage and wattage, these are actually just text fields. So if I hit edit parameter, it's common text in the electrical group parameter. Same thing with wattage. So what you need to do is you need to actually edit the connectors properties here. And so we're going to be focusing on these buttons on the far right, and we need to set up the number of poles, and we need to set up the voltage. And the reason why we're going to do that, I'm going to get out of this real quick. The reason why we need to do that is because this is a 480 three-phase system. And so if I come over here to manage and we take a look at MEP settings, we look at our electrical settings, I have defined voltage definitions for us, as well as distribution systems for us. So we'll hit edit in place, click on the connector. Number of poles, I actually want this to reference whatever the family's actual type is. So the family, we want this family to have a type property associated with it that somewhere in here says number of poles, and we have another one in here that says voltage potential, that is not a text property. Remember, this one was just a text property, so that's not, for all intents and purposes, that's not going to be what we want. So I'm going to click on this. We're going to adjust our number of poles. And so you can actually just up and down it here, but instead we're going to actually assign it to associate to a family parameter. So I'll click that. I don't have any family parameters I can associate it to because the family parameter is that, the type is that. So if I hit new, watch what it comes up with. It already fills all this stuff in. So electrical discipline, type of parameter is this, and it's going to go into the electrical engineering group. So we'll just type the number of poles. I don't need to change any of this. I can hit OK. OK. And now notice this is grayed out. That means it's associated with the family parameter now. Remember, family parameters are going to be associated in here. So this is a family type. And now we have a number of poles, which is listed underneath the electrical engineering group in here. We'll select this again. Now we're going to set up our voltage. I'll click on this guy. Again, this is the electrical potential is the name of this parameter. And I don't have anything that I can associate it with. So I'll hit new parameter. And you can tell that my terminology is it's not professional because there's some nuances here. And we won't try to figure out the proper terminology in this video. That will be an evolutionary type thing, I'm sure. So we'll hit OK on that. And again, this is going to gray it out. And so we just assigned this connector's properties with family type properties. So we just connected them. And so that way so I'll finish this model in place. So when I then set, and here I hit edit type on this, and I come down here to voltage system, and I type in 480, and I type number of poles 3, hit apply, hit OK. This literally worked a second ago. What did I do wrong? 480 volt, 3-phase. Okay, what do we do wrong?
The main thing is they don't really want us to interact. So yeah, we can just go. It'll start.
Okay, so I paused the recording for a minute to figure out what the issue was, and apparently when we set this to, when we were up here and we set the family category and parameters, when I had set this to other panel for whatever reason, that then made it so the distribution system wasn't populating. I do believe you still would be able to assign it to a load, but so let's say, I'm going to test that for a second, test that in a second. But for right now, I select panel board, hit OK, finish model, and then now when I select this, and you remember that I've already assigned it to 480 and 3-phase for this family type, this family's type. Then down here, then I have this 480 277Y available for us to select. And if you recall a minute ago, we talked about that, which was here under MEP settings, electrical settings, and we have 480 277, and we lay out all that stuff right there. I am not quite sure how voltage definitions affect anything here. So that's unclear to me at the moment. And I'm wondering if, I don't quite understand how all this stuff kind of comes. I don't understand how voltage definitions affects anything here, if I'm being honest. So now we'll switch gears for just a second, and we'll actually see if I do an edit in place on this, and I just change the category here, part type category, to other panel. I select that. I do finish model. I believe that if I hit power here, I'm still able to select that it's fed from that panel, and see that worked. I don't know why distribution system isn't working there. I'm guessing that this is maybe being assigned as a load, and that's why distribution system is being blocked out. I'm not quite sure, but that's a little nuance there. But in short, this is how you would go about properly setting up a panel or new family. That way it can be circuited and come into your schedules appropriately.